phone lights up. No name. A message drafted, never sent. Fingers hover, then retreat. The screen goes dark, but the urge lingers, checking again, waiting again. Chasing a response that never comes. This is not new. The same loop, the same silent ache, a reflex to hold on, to prove worth through effort, to beg for what was never offered. What if effort only deepens loss? The mind insists, trying harder will fix it. One more message, one more gesture. But the pattern repeats, and the void grows. Holding on feels like strength. But is it? Or is it just reaction dressed as loyalty? Each check, each wait, carves deeper. Not into them, but into the system within. Invisible cracks spread. Trust erodes. Not in others, but in the self. The cost is not the silence from them. It's the noise inside, drowning out clarity. Begging for love builds no connection. It only buries what remains. You have power over your mind, not outside events, Epictetus said. A tether snaps, and the weight falls away. No one owes a response. No one owes a reason. The world moves and does not pause for pleading. Detachment is not surrender. It's the first step to SEE. Is waiting a choice, or just another loop, pulling tighter with each turn? The reflex to chase feels like control, but it's a trap, a system wired to repeat until it breaks. The truth lies in the pause, not the pursuit. Love begged is no love at all. A single breath, held in silence, cuts the thread. The next move is not theirs. It's the choice to stay still and let the noise fade. Why wait for a sign that never comes? Is silence their choice or yours? The urge to explain, to fill the void, hums. What does chasing prove when nothing returns? Each glance at the screen, a pull. Each unsent word, a wait. Does pleading make love real? Or does it just deepen rejection? Who holds the thread when you cling? Why beg for what was never given? The mind loops, searching for reasons. But reasons don't undo pain. What if letting go isn't loss? What if silence is the first step? The reflex to react feels alive. But is it freedom or just a cage? Stillness waits. No answers, no noise, just breath. Pattern 1. Chasing validation. The hand reaches for the phone. Not once, not twice. A reflex, wired deep. A message checked, then checked again, no reply. Yet the urge persists, chasing a sign, a word, a glance, anything to prove worth. The mind whispers, one more try will shift the tide. One more gesture will earn their gaze. But the screen stays blank. The silence grows. This is not new. The loop of effort, of pleading without words. It feels like action, like loyalty, like love. But it's none of those. It's a system feeding on itself. Each check, each wait builds a debt. Not to them, to the self. The cost is not their silence. It's the erosion within, invisible at first. A crack in trust, not in others, but in what remains inside. The mind spins, replaying moments, searching for a misstep, a reason why effort failed. But the failure isn't in the trying, it's in the chase. Begging for validation doesn't build connection. It dismantles the foundation. It trades self-command for a fleeting hope. There is nothing the busy man is less busied with than living, Seneca wrote. A life spent chasing is no life. It's a machine, running on empty. The Stoic sees this. The Stoic stops. Not to mourn, not to rage, but to see. The reflex to chase is not strength. It's a wire, pulling tighter with each turn. Withdraw the hand. Let the screen stay dark. Let the urge hum and fade. The world does not owe a response, nor does it define what holds. Step back from the edge of reaction. The phone can wait. The message can sit. The silence is not a verdict. It's a space, a moment to breath, to observe the pull without following. This is not surrender. It's power. The power to choose what deserves effort and what deserves none. Validation cannot be begged. It's built in the quiet of non-reaction. You don't owe anything. The loop of chasing. It hums in the background, always there. But another pattern waits, one that pulls harder. It starts with a question, unanswered. Pattern 2. Explaining absence. A name lingers in the mind. Their silence, a puzzle. Hours spent tracing back. What was said, what wasn't. The mind builds cases, scripts, answers. If only the right words were found. If only the moment was reproached. Explaining their absence feels like control. Like solving the ache. A message half written, deleted. Another begun, unsent. The urge to understand, to pin down why. It drives deep. It promises clarity, but it delivers none. It's a loop, not a path. Each explanation tightens the grip, not on them, on pain. The mind churns, and the cost grows. Rejection, not from their silence, but from the self. Trust, phrase. Not in others, but in the ability to let go. The system falters, wired to seek reasons where none exist. To beg for closure is to beg for chains. It doesn't free, it binds. The absence isn't the wound. The need to explain is Epictetus taught. What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears. No one owes an answer. Their silence is their choice. Not a riddle, not a judgment. The Stoic sees this. The Stoic turns away. Not explaining is not weakness. It's refusal to fuel the loop. Let the question sit. Let the silence speak. The mind can rest without solving. Hold the urge to dissect. Let the blank screen stay blank. Saying less cuts the thread. Breathing through the need to know. This is not defeat. It's discipline. The choice to step back from the edge of why. Clarity comes not from answers, but from stillness. Absence is just absence. Nothing more. Pain doesn't mean truth. A pause holds the weight. But another reflex stirs, subtle yet heavy. It creeps in when the mind seeks escape. The mind seeks a way out, a distraction, a noise to drown the quiet. But escape is its own trap. Another loop disguised as relief. The urge to explain shifts. Now it's a scroll, a swipe, a fleeting rush. Anything to avoid the weight of absence. But the void follows. It always does. A cracked wall holds until it doesn't. The pressure builds unseen. One push and it falls. Chasing, explaining, they pile weight. The wall is not them. It's the self, crumbling under reflex. Detachment is the space before the break. The reflex to escape? It hums louder now. But another pattern waits. One that clings tighter. It starts with a hope held too long. Pattern 3. Clinging to hope. A memory flickers. Their voice. A moment. The mind grips it. Tight. Not letting go. Not yet. Hope. Blindly. It feels like strength. Like faith. A belief. One day, they'll see. They'll return. The heart insists. Holding on will change the tide. A photo kept. A message saved. A door left open. Just in case. This is not love. This is clinging. A reflex wired to wait for what was never promised. Each moment held costs. Not them, the self. Regret loops, not from their absence, but from the refusal to release. The system strains, wired to believe effort earns reward. But hope, unchecked, becomes a chain. It pulls deeper into loss. The mind replays what could have been. It builds futures on sand. To cling is to beg, not for love, but for pain. Prolonge. Seneca said, "You must go on, not because you are strong, but because you must." The Stoic does not wait. The Stoic sees. Hope is not a plan. It's a trap, feeding the loop. Let go is not defeat. It's cutting the wire. Release the photo, delete the thread, close the door. The world moves and does not owe a return. Detachment builds what hope destroys. Turn away from the flicker. Let the memory fade. Step back from the edge of what might be, breathing through the pull to hold. This is not loss. It's choice. The choice to end the cycle, to stand without waiting. Love does not grow in chains. It grows in silence, free of expectation. Let go isn't weakness. The weight of hope, it lingers. But another reflex stirs, quieter, yet heavier. It hides in the act of hiding. Pattern 4. Suppressing pain. The chest tightens, a familiar ache. Eyes glance away, a smile forced. The world sees nothing. Suppressing. It's automatic. Swallow the hurt. Bury the sting. Keep moving, as if unbroken. The mind insists, showing pain is failure, weakness. So it's hidden, tucked behind words, behind routine, behind a face that lies. This is not strength. This is a reflex to avoid what cuts deepest. Each buried ache festers, not seen, but growing. Numbness spreads, not as relief, but as theft. It steals trust, not in others, but in the self. The system falters, wired to hide what demands to be felt. To suppress is to delay. Not the pain, but the cost. It carves invisible scars. The weight compounds until the mask cracks. Begging for love starts here, in the silence of denial. The Stoic faces what others flee. What need is there to resist? What is? Epictetus asked. Pain is not the enemy. Hiding it is. Sitting with it is not surrender. It's the act of seeing. Let the ache rise. Let it breathe. No words, no fixes, just presence. The system resets, not by running, but by staying. Stillness holds what suppression breaks. Let the smile drop. Let the chest open. breathing through the raw edge. This is not collapse. It's discipline, the choice to feel without fleeing, to see without hiding. Pain does not define. It passes when faced. Love grows not in masks, but in truth, unburied. The void is where it clears. A truth faced shifts the ground, but another pattern waits, one that spins in the quiet of thought. Seneca stood condemned. Nero's blade waited, yet his pulse held steady. No plea, no rage, just silence, facing fate. Detached strength, not in fighting, but in standing still. The Stoic chooses what to carry and what to leave. The spin of thought, it pulls, relentless. But another pattern lurks, one that builds on what's ignored. Pattern 5, overthinking absence. A thought circles, their silence. Why did they leave? What broke the thread? A moment replayed, again and again. Overthinking. It hums, relentless. Each loop, a search for answers, for fault, for a way to fix what's gone. The mind builds endless scripts. If only this, if only that. It feels like progress, like solving, but it's a spiral, digging deeper into anxiety. Each turn erodes, not them, the self. Clarity fails, replaced by noise. The system locks, wired to chase reasons. Where none exist, their absence, it's not a puzzle, it's a fact. To overthink is to beg, not for low, but for chaos. Self-inflicted. The cost is not the silence, it's the refusal to let it be. A lake still reflects truth. Steer it, and it clouds. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Why torment yourself when you can be free?" The Stoic sees the loop. The Stoic steps out. Observe, not solve. Let the thought come. Let it pass. No chase, no script. The mind can rest in stillness. Pause before the next turn. Let the question fade unanswered. Witness the urge to spin. This is not weakness. It's control. The choice to stay without answers. Love does not live in endless whys. It lives in silence, uncluttered. Stillness is enough. The spiral slows, but another reflex waits, one that trades truth for the comfort of pleasing. Pattern 6, pleasing to belong. A nod, a smile, given freely. Words chosen to soothe, to fit. The urge to please, it runs deep. A reflex to bend, to soften edges, to keep the bond intact. Their approval, a weight. Their silence, a signal. Say more, do more, be more. The mind adjusts, shrinks to hold their gaze. This is not connection. This is a trade, a surrender, masked as care. Pleasing to avoid rejection, to belong at any cost. The cost is steep, not their distance, but the self, erased, invisible, not to them, but within. The system warps, wired to seek favor over truth. Each act of pleasing, a brick, building a wall, not a bridge. The heart learns to crave their nod more than its own pulse. To beg for belonging is to lose what makes belonging real. The foundation crumbles. Not from their choice, but from the choice to bend. A fortress stands, alone, its walls unyielding, its strength in stillness. The Stoic builds, not for others, but for the self. No one can harm you unless you let them, Epictetus said. Hold the line is not cold, it's clarity. Refuse the nod that demands a peace. Refuse the smile that costs truth. Saying less is not loss, it's power. The power to stand without their weight. Let the urge pass. Let the silence sit, breathing through the need to please. This is not isolation, it's discipline, the choice to be without bending, to see without seeking favor. Love does not grow in trades, it grows in presence. Unowed. Detachment is a form of respect. The act of pleasing, it fades. But another voice speaks, sharp, between the self and the truth. I should act, the mind insists. Pain demands it. Reach out, fix it. But the Stoic voice cuts through. Why move when stillness holds? The first voice pleads. They'll slip away. The second, unmoved. Let them, detachment is enough. The inner clash, it echoes. But another pattern waits, one that denies what cuts deepest. Pattern 7, avoiding truth. The truth stings, a sharp edge. Their absence, a fact, undeniable. Yet the mind turns away, denying it's easier, safer. A reflex to blur the cut, to say they're busy, they'll return. It wasn't over. The heart clings to a story, a version where pain isn't real, messages kept unread, photos untouched but not deleted. This is not hope. This is avoidance, a loop to dodge what's already here. Each denial builds a debt, not to them, to reality. Grief lingers, not from their leaving, but from the refusal to see. The system falters, wired to soften what must be faced. To deny truth is to beg for a lie. It doesn't heal. It delays. The cost is not the loss. It's the weight of carrying what's gone, invisible, until it crushes. The truth waits, always. Epictetus said, "Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do." The Stoic stares into the cut. See is not surrender, it's power. Face the absence. Name it. Let it stand. Unsoftened. No stories, no excuses. The system resets, not by hiding, but by standing in the raw. Let the photo fade. Let the message sit unread, breathing through the sting of truth. This is not defeat, it's courage, the choice to end the lie, to observe without flinching. Love does not live in denial. It lives in clarity, unblurred. You can end without drama. The truth, it settles. But another reflex stirs, one that grips what's already slipped. Pattern 8, holding on. A thread, barely there. A memory, half faded, yet the hand grips, tight. Holding on, it feels like loyalty, like love. The mind insists. Letting go is betrayal. A photo lingers in the gallery. A number, not deleted. A door, cracked open. just in case. The heart waits for a return, for a sign. This is not devotion. This is a reflex to cling, to beg for what's already gone. Each moment held costs, not them, the self. Isolation grows not from their absence, but from the refusal to release. The system strains, wired to preserve what no longer exists. To hold on is to carry weight, not of love, but of loss. The mind replays their voice, their face. It builds a cage of what was, begging for their return, is begging for pain, prolonged. A cut thread floats free, no anchor, no weight. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Accept whatever comes and let it go as easily." The Stoic releases, not to forget, but to see. Release is not loss, it's clarity. Delete the number, clear the gallery, shut the door. The world turns and owes no return. Detachment builds what clinging destroys. Let the thread slip, let the memory blur. Breathing through the pull to hold. This is not surrender. It's choice. The choice to walk without chains. To observe without grasping. Love does not live in what's kept. It lives in silence, unburdened. Not doing is power too. The grip loosens, a shift, but another pattern waits, one that fills the quiet with noise. A study found 62% of adults revisit old messages weekly, seeking what? A spark, a reason, a trace. Rejection, not in the act, but in the return. The screen, a mirror. It shows not them, but the loop, unbroken. The noise, it hums. But another pattern stirs, one that reacts to what's not said. Pattern 9, reacting to silence. Silence falls heavy. No message, no call. The void, it pulls. The mind rushes to fill it. A text drafted, sent too soon. A call made, unanswered. Reacting, it feels alive, like control, like bridging the gap. The urge insists, do something, say something, break the quiet. Their silence, a challenge, a test. This is not action. This is a reflex to flee the weight of nothing, to beg for a sound. Each reaction fuels a cycle, not connection, but shame. The cost, not their distance, but the self diminished. The system locks, wired to move when stillness is needed. To react is to chase, not love, but chaos. The mind spins, replaying the send, the call, the wait. It builds a trap of self-doubt. Begging for their voice is begging for loss, self-inflicted. Silence is not the wound. The need to break it is. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." The Stoic waits, not for them, but for clarity. Non-reaction is not passivity, it's strength. Let the silence sit. Let the urge hum and fade. No text, no call. The world owes no reply. Stillness holds what reaction shatters. Pause before the send. Let the phone stay still, breathing through the urge to act. This is not defeat, it's discipline. The choice to stand without filling the void, to observe without breaking. Love does not grow in noise. It grows in silence, unbroken. You don't have to react. The quiet holds a shift, but another pattern waits, one that seeks what's already lost. Pattern 10. Begging for closure. A question lingers. Why? Their absence. A gap. The mind demands an answer, a reason, a final word. Explaining. It feels necessary, like closure. A call drafted, unsent, a letter written, unmailed. The urge to know, to understand, it burns, begging for clarity from their silence. This is not resolution. This is a reflex to chase what's already gone, to plead for a truth that changes nothing. Each plea deepens the wound, not their leaving, but the self unraveling. Loss compounds, not from their silence, but from the need to fill it. The system stalls, wired to seek what's not owed. To beg for closure is to beg for chains. It doesn't free, it binds. The mind replays their last words, their last look. It searches for a key, but the lock is imagined. The cost is not the unknown. It's the refusal to let it be. Seneca wrote, "Cease to hope, and you will cease to fear." The Stoic turns from the question. Disengage is not avoidance, it's power. Let the why sit unanswered. Let the silence stand. No letter, no call. The world owes no explanation. Cold peace holds what closure cannot. Let the question fade. Let the silence breathe. Breathing through the need to know. This is not surrender, it's choice. The choice to end the search, to see without answers. Love does not live in explanations. It lives in presence, unforced. Silence isn't surrender. The search ends, a quiet shift. But the mind, it pauses, reflecting on what remains. The pause, it lingers, a breath held steady. The urge to chase, to explain, to cling, it fades. But the quiet, it's not empty. It holds a mirror. What remains after the noise? The self, stripped bare. No answers, no returns, just presence, raw, unforced. The Stoic stands here, not waiting, not running, just seeing. The system, it resets, not in motion, but in stillness. The mirror clears, a shift. But another reflex stirs, one that builds on what's faced. The facing, it shifts. No chase, no plea, just clarity, cold, unyielding. But another reflex hums, subtle, yet heavy. It stirs in the need to prove, to act, to fill what's already full. The quiet, it holds enough. But the mind, it resists. It seeks another loop, another weight. The resistance, it fades, but another pattern waits, one that spins in the silence of choice. The choice, it lingers. Silence, not a void, but a ground. The urge to spin, to react, it hums, but weakens. The Stoic sees the pull, not to fill, but to observe. Each pause, a brick, building, not a cage, but a fortress. Detachment, not absence, but presence, unowed. The system, it steadies, wired not to chase, but to hold. Love grows here, not in pleas, but in stillness, unbroken. The ground firms, a shift, but another reflex stirs, one that seeks to mend what's already whole. The urge to mend, it fades. The whole, it stands. No cracks to fill, no voids to chase. Clarity holds steady. The Stoic breathes, not to fix, but to be here. The reflex to act, to prove, it quiets. Each moment, a choice. Not to beg, but to witness. The system, it aligns, not to their silence, but to self-command. Love does not demand. It exists in the pause, unforced. The pause deepens, a mirror, but one final reflex waits, one that seeks what's already gone. The gone, it lingers, a shadow, faint. The mind reaches to pull it back, to ask one last time, to explain what ended. The urge, it hums, subtle, final, begging, not for love, but for closure, for a reason, for a word to seal the gap. This is the last loop, the quietest, yet the deepest. It feels like resolution, like peace. But it's a trap, wired to chase what's already dust. Each reach costs, not their answer, but the self, unraveling. Loss, not from their silence, but from the refusal to let it stand. The system, it falters, seeking a key where none exists. To beg for closure is to beg for weight. It doesn't lift. It sinks. The mind, it spins. One last script. One last why. But the why changes nothing. The gap is not theirs. It's the refusal to see. Seneca wrote, "You have all you need, if you can bear what comes." The Stoic turns from the shadow. Disengage is not flight, it's strength. Let the question dissolve. Let the silence breathe. No word, no reason is owed. Cold peace holds what closure never will. The system, it resets, not in answers, but in stillness. Let the shadow fade. Breathing through, the final pull. This is not surrender, it's freedom. The choice to end, the chase, to witness without grasping. Love does not live in endings explained. It lives in presence, unbegged. Silence isn't surrender. The silence settles, a ground. No more chasing, no more pleading. Just breath, steady, clear. The phone, face down, no hum. The room, still. Hands rest, open. Nothing moves, but breath. A pulse, steady. The urge to chase, to plead. It passed, not gone, but seen. Held in silence. The weight, it lifted. Not by their word, but by choice. Non-reaction. Carved a space, a ground, unowed. A pause, held. Not to fix, not to fill, just to be here. The reflex, to beg, it stirred and stilled. A moment, kept, not for them, but for the self. Presence, raw, unforced. The system, it holds, not in answers, but in quiet. Detachment, not absence, but clarity, unbegged. Is silence escape or ground? The question hangs. No need to answer. It's enough to see, to stand without reaching, without explaining, without chasing. Stillness is not surrender. It's the weight of choice. Presents holds what words cannot.